He's named Joanne, but he's a Mister.
Yeah. The phone is a Mister, yes,
okay.
but it's named Joanne. Yes.
Okay.
And
Joanne,
we're back.
he, him.
Hi, welcome.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I really quickly, I just wanted to say that like this is a dream to have a panel because this is like my very first panel, and like. And like the first and second time, like I've been to both GamerX's. Last time I volunteered for the first one, and I covered GamerX2 for like the small news site, and I remember telling myself that I wanted to do a panel someday. And
are you being like facetious with the small, or did you actually not cover for BuzzFeed? So
I did not cover for
okay.
BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
No. I would have said BuzzFeed, but like.
No, I would have plugged the shit out of myself. But.
It was called like Indie like 2-. Y'all probably never heard of it. That's what I thought. All right, so. But anyways, thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. So welcome to our panel. Shout out to MattCon for taking this panel so last minute because we didn't actually apply for the panel because I was late in submitting myself. So this is how my geeky interest and how your geeky interest can get you a job. So what I was thinking is that like we'll just go down the line and introduce ourselves and just like tell our stories about how our geeky interest got us a job. But then like we're gonna leave most of the panel open to just questions about things. Yeah, things. Let's start from down the line.
Oh, starting with me?
Yes.
Well, I have the weirdest story, but my name's Arthur Chu, and how my geeky interest got me a job was I was on the game show Jeopardy, and I played the show in a very geeky way, and I went viral, and that was weird, but that was a whole thing. But the really interesting thing about that was that you get these weird windows of time where everyone's very interested in you as a person because of some totally random thing. And they say, the quote is like, it'll happen to everyone for 15 minutes. Andy Warhol said that. And it's really more like 5 seconds. But it is happening to people a lot more often than it used to. And for me, what it meant was that I got the chance to be in conversation with people that would otherwise not have talked to me, and that I told people a lot about myself. I got a lot of my writing out there, and I ended up getting a writing gig afterwards and started writing about other things, and now people have read stuff that I've written. I've showed up in Salon, in the Daily Beast, other publications, and so without really expecting it, I ended up being a writer person. And I can't say like it's common that you go viral for being on TV on a game show, but I think there are some lessons from like what I did that I could, pass on to other people, if you ever end up in a weird situation, so.
Yeah. No, that was a pass on too. I was commenting as a listener and as a moving down the line. Hey everyone, I'm Becca Canote. Hey there, microphone. I'm just gonna take it. There's 2 of us here. Hi everyone, I'm Becca Canote. Some of you may know me from my previous hosting gig with Geek and Sundry Vlogs. Hosted a vlog called Geeking Out for about 2 years. But in my rest of my YouTube life, I am a content manager and development producer and merchandising coordinator and fundraising person.
Many hyphens. I was
and studio manager and like keep the roof from leaking person. Oh wow, it's a lot. For a group called Rhett and Link, they host a show called Good Mythical Morning on YouTube and do sketch comedy, music videos, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. But in my past, I worked for YouTube as a content manager and like channel advocate and programming person. And before that was a live stream producer for a little company up here in the Bay Area, actually. Go here. I used to live here for a long time. How I ended up doing all of that is, to put it simply, thank you, alcohol. To be perfectly serious, I have the nice polished version I tell people in interviews. The real story is I was graduating from college at UC Berkeley. I was one of those people getting those kind of amorphous liberal arts degrees that I thought would lead to nothing. And in a panic, I sent a drunk tweet to Veronica Belmont and Tom Merritt, Veronica Belmont of everything. God, what hasn't Veronica done? But most importantly, of Sword and Laser, which was part of the first season of Felicia Day's Geek and Sundry Network programming. And I went, hi, you guys are really cool, and I want to work for you. I'm in the Bay Area, please. Like, I'm not going to kill you in your sleep. And somehow that led to her going, hey, yeah, like, let's get coffee and talk. And I will say I definitely had some Baileys in that coffee, got a little liquid courage up again, interviewed with her, and somehow it led to a career. And it just, from there, was dumb luck. I met the right people at the right time, and I was willing to work my ass off for nothing, and then lots, and then nothing again, and then more nothing. And just happened to say, like, I really like this. I have a passion about doing these things, and I'll keep doing it. And no one has said no yet. I wouldn't say they've said yes, but no one has said no. And that's what matters.
Hi, I'm Matt Baume. I've got a bunch of projects all over the place. I write for The Advocate. I write for The Stranger up in Seattle. A lot of folks know me for some YouTube videos that I do about analyzing queers in TV and movies and stuff like that. I also have a podcast called The Sewers of Paris, where I talk to gay men about entertainment that changed their lives. In addition to all that, because it's not enough projects, a couple years ago, I was doing a lot of freelance writing about marriage equality when I lived in San Francisco, covering what was going on with Prop 8 and marriage efforts around that. And that started getting bigger and bigger and bigger for me, and more people started paying attention to that. And I kind of accidentally turned into a marriage geek, and just happened to know what was going on with all the marriage equality stuff. And my videos popped up on other people's blogs, and it was really great. And then the people who were actually doing the Prop 8 trial were like, do you want to just come and do this for us? And so I was like, sure. And so a couple years went by, and we won. Hooray. Yes. So now we've got marriage. And I have a book out now that just came out called Defining Marriage, where I write all about like all the marriage stuff from the last couple years. And so that's the short 60-second version of it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so my story is that I actually also went to UC Berkeley. Woo! And I majored in programming. And because it was a very practical choice, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And then I joined theater club. And then theater club made me like reawaken my creative side and made me realize that like, oh, like I can actually like grow, still be an adult kind of, and like still enjoy like Sailor Moon and Madoka Magica and video games and all this great stuff. Because like they're very essential parts of me, and they're not superfluous, because that's what I thought initially. And I've always loved YouTube, and it was because of like all the great people in theater club. They encouraged me to start my YouTube channel, and they also taught, like the film people taught me everything about lights and sound and editing on Adobe Premiere. And so the beginning of my senior year, I started the channel, and even though like I didn't get as many subscribers as I thought I was going to, because I was like, oh, I'm a fresh with it kid. Like I'll get like multiple subscribers in like a week.
Just a hip young thing.
Yeah. But like I still did it because it was very fulfilling for me. Because like I initially started all of this because like I wasn't seeing a lot of like people of color, queer people discussing games the way I wanted to talk about them. Like I wanted to talk about video games like respectfully as an art form that can affect society. And you know, most gaming channels are like, oh, like the gameplay's super fun, headshot, bro, and like just a lot of, and plus like, yeah, and plus like most of the people that are on gaming channels are white, and like I didn't see myself represented, and so cut to graduation where I was like, I didn't find anything that I wanted to do. Like nobody wanted me like for acting gigs or anything like that. But I applied to BuzzFeed on a whim. I actually applied for their front desk job and their video internship program. And like it was just like a beautiful moment where my passion met opportunity, because like I wouldn't have gotten the gig and I wouldn't have become like a junior producer, a full-time producer now at BuzzFeed if like I didn't have like a year's worth of work to show them.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's our story, and
No, I think Chris, you hit on a really good point there with that realization moment of where opportunities can come from isn't necessarily, for me it was, I got drunk, I sent a tweet, somebody gave me a job. But it's not, like when I started doing Geeking Out, which ended up being part of Geeking Sundry Vlogs, wow, I never even talked about it in my intro. That was a thing I did for like 2 years, wow. That was just a brainchild of myself and my friend Neil McNeil going, wait, the two of us talk on Skype and on FaceTime constantly about wanting to see this or talk about this or have this like piece of ourselves as queer individuals who are also just spending so much of our livelihood on comic books. Nobody is talking about this in the way we want to talk about it. Like we're not seeing like somebody not only like highlighting the things we want to critique, but then also doing like top 10 lists. Like list videos are huge on YouTube. Like why aren't there more list videos being like, here's the 8 best like queer POC characters in this? Well, mostly because there's not enough characters to fill up this list. So let's start talking about that problem too. And it led to a thing that happened to turn into something because of the powers that be, that is Felicia Day saying, hey, why don't you do this? And it just worked out. But had that not happened, we'd still be hosting that show on our own. Like we'd still be doing that show because it was a story that needed to be told. It was a voice that needed to exist. And I mean, that show's been on hiatus now for like 6 months because I am the worst. And there's a void now because of it. And like everybody can fill that void just by doing it. I mean, here's your phone. You can put this on a little stand and that's better than most people's like fancy cameras that they have. And that's the thing. You saw it. You said, I want to do this. You filled a void and it led to like crazy opportunities.
Yeah, like watching Geeking Out actually like was one of the big inspirations for me to start my own channel.
Oh.
Because like I think that like people sell you like this rhetoric of like narrative of like oh, you'll be like you'll work for this big company, you'll be an intern and then a PA and then so much more and
then you'll be a coordinator and it all just happened one day.
Yeah,
you gotta be a big star.
Yeah, like you're going places, kid.
Hey. Just to suspend your joke over and over again.
And like that is one way that you can do this, and then you can talk to someone when you're up higher, but like I think another thing that you can do is to just make things.
Oh yeah.
It's to just like let making things lead to more things that you are happy to make.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That part of that is the hustle of making sure you're talking to the right people and having like a stack of cards ready to hand out. But also just there's one, having the body of work so that when you say, oh hey, I would like to do this kind of thing, that you could be like, and I've been doing it for the last year. But also it's just important practice. There was a period where with my YouTube videos, I was doing 5 a week, which was a really killer schedule.
Oh dear.
But yes. But I got real efficient at it real fast because I learned stuff about how to set up the mic and how to set up the lights and how to do the editing really fast. So and I've got stuff now on if you go to my YouTube channel, it's just my name, it's Matt Baume. I have stuff on there like how queers were depicted on sitcoms from the 70s up to the 90s, and stuff about like the best sissies in movies from like the 30s up until today. And that's stuff that's still getting views and still getting comments and people are still watching, and occasionally, in fact, with the job that I have right now with The Stranger, with the freelance work that I'm doing, when they approached me, which was awesome, that they were like, the editor was like, oh, hey, I really like what you're doing. Like I had this big body that he could look at and be like, I like this thing that you did and that thing, and we want you to do more of this thing. And then I could also point to stuff and be like, oh, well, I really enjoyed doing this video about, I had one around Halloween. I had some videos about Nightmare on Elm Street, the queer content in Nightmare 2, and Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I got so much good feedback from that from this one editor who was like, oh, I really enjoy this. Maybe we can find a way to have you write more about this, which has not happened yet, but, and actually, I just realized that led to another gig, which is right now, there's this geek club in Seattle called Vernon Wells. It's basically like a geek social club where you go and there's board games and a D&D campaign going on and there's fantasy novel library, and it's awesome. And I just bumped into the founders at this like geeky event, and they were like, oh, we really like your videos. Would you be interested in hosting a screening series? And I'm like, would I? So Yeah, and that just happens because I'm putting myself out there. And I mean, I would never in a million years have expected that this particular thing would have come along. But because I'm good at talking about movies now, in part because of all the work I've been doing, I feel really confident about next week. I'm going to be hosting a screening of the Star Wars Holiday Special, which is very exciting.
That is so cool.
Yes. And I've got all this trivia about it. Did you know the woman who played Lumpy, Chewbacca's son, got to keep all the props from the kitchen and she still has them in her kitchen?
Oh, that's so cool.
Awesome.
What?
Yes.
Nice.
That's delightful.
Yeah. And then we're doing next week or next month we're doing the movie The Apple, which is my favorite film. It's set in the future. It was made in the 70s, set in the future, 1994. Fantastic. Anyway, so that's just another case of this stuff you do it and you get good at it, and the combination of being good and having your work is essentially your resume.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into the questions in just a second, but I also did want to piggyback off of that and say that I think it's also important to not pigeonhole yourself into one thing, because if I were to be no, I don't need a job, I'm just gonna become a YouTube star, I'd probably be sitting in a cardboard box behind a Walmart.
I mean,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No.
I think the biggest, it's by far not the only barrier, but one of the biggest barriers that we have, especially me as a good little Asian boy, right, who was raised to go into engineering or some shit or whatever, but is this requiring permission, right?
Oh, my
that
God.
as a gifted kid in school, I was sort of pointed towards authority figures and said, get their approval, get a certification, get a diploma, and that really doesn't get you very far in the world anymore, if it ever did. And there are still many other barriers to success, but one of the big psychological ones is feeling like you need to be in a program or you need to be on a track in
God.
order to actually do something. The places where people have this big unexpected success is where there's no trail, because that's the virgin territory. That's the stuff no one else is doing. And in the fields that I'm a fan in, webcomics, a lot of the early webcomics weren't very good. They weren't very good, but they were catering to an audience, queer audiences, the furry fandom, gamers. Penny Arcade wasn't good when it came out, but it was about games. But
Okay,
it was
fair.
It was a place to coalesce voices.
It was-
something that nobody was talking about,
Right.
especially in the format that they were talking about.
Right. And in my particular case, it's I've been ranting on the internet my whole life, right? The opportunity to make money ranting on the internet came recently, but it happened because that was something that I'd already been doing, and something where I was I did it because I wanted to do it, not because I thought of it as some kind of career plan.
Yeah.
One of the things I can say, this is an unusual situation for me, but when I went viral and I started talking to people online, a big part of my brand, quote unquote, was just this is the guy that is on TV and everybody doesn't like him and he's talking back to people and he's establishing a personality. And a lot of people, and I'm not saying you should do it, if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it, right? A lot of people wouldn't do it. A lot of people have been through that and didn't do it. And what people from Sony Pictures Entertainment told me is usually when people who are on the show get a lot of blowback, they talk to us and they wait for our PR people to handle it. And that takes a week, and by then it's all died down.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's what they want. They want it to all die down. And no, this is from the moment, they told me, from the moment you started replying to people on Twitter and writing stuff, we lost control of the narrative, right? And people started writing think pieces. That's how, if you wait for other people to take control of your narrative, they're the ones who are going to bend it towards what's profitable for them.
Yeah.
And if I'd waited for Sony Pictures Entertainment to do what they wanted to do, what they want to do is they want to plug their show and not any individual person on the show, and have their show just remain this icon of American entertainment. And having a viral Jeopardy star kind of threw a huge wrench into that. But I was in it for me and not for them. So as long as I wasn't breaking any contract that I had with them, or even bending the contract that I had with them by taking interviews on my own and stuff. But it was I had in mind, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had in mind I want to do, if I'm handed something out of thin air, like a windfall, all of a sudden I wake up and I have 10 times as many Twitter followers as I did yesterday because someone wrote a blog post about me and it went viral. And the first thing is this is something that's in my it's the ball's in my court.
Yes.
I have some control over this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what I want to do with it. I'm not going to let someone else take that control back from me. You got to
No.
think like a sports team, right? When you have control, you've got to use that control. You can't be passive because someone's going to take it away from you. We're in a competitive world, you know.
Yeah, like the mindset that I went into to One Wing Wannabe. That's the name of my channel. One Wing Wannabe is that that you should always ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
Yeah. Yep.
Questions?
We can turn the mic over to the crowd now. Questions, anybody? Anybody? Anything at all? Doesn't have to be about our careers, too. I will take anything.
Yes.
I'm asking this because I get this a lot as someone who works in games. When you cross the border from this is my fanish interest to this is my career, does it reduce your enjoyment of the things that got you there, or does it, or how does it change that?
That's a great question. I like you.
I'll jump in on this one. I mean, for me, it was just an amplification of what I was already doing. I was already, you know, when I was sitting down with comics and I was sitting down with video games and TV shows and web series, it was, I already feel like this. I'm probably already tweeting about it or like Tumblring 1,000 Tumble posts about it, just like, oh God, all these chipsets, I need them. It was channeling those energies. It was saying, I'm already feeling this way. I already have this. I want to share it with somebody. I probably already am. Now I get to do that for monies. or in a more focused way that obviously, yeah, it made some things harder because I did have to feel like, okay, if this is a new property I'm getting into, if this is, if there is some revelation that happens, like I'm expected to respond or I'm expected to have a way to address this. You know, sometimes I looked into it more. I'm like, oh, okay. It could get a little tedious at times, but I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't still do it in some capacity if I didn't want to be doing it anyway. If there wasn't a way to amplify my like enjoyment of the property, why address that property? If I could just go to something else. I could find something that is more engaging and just keep that as a fanish interest I wasn't gonna spoil.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I would say it kind of varies from thing to thing. One of the first jobs that, when I first got out of college, a job that I applied for and wound up not taking was with Falcon Studios, editing and doing post-production on pornography. And the job interview, they said to me, now you're going to get real bored of porn after a while in this job. So I guess that's a thing that happens in porn. With just butts everywhere.
Not the other side, just butts.
Yeah. But that having been said, with the you know, I've been doing movie stuff for a long, long time, and I don't think I'll ever get set. Like the more I talk about it, the more I love it. And then there's, you know, in the middle of those extremes, there's what happened to me with marriage equality. I went into that being like really passionate about this cause. It started with me and my partner driving around the Bay Area, doing video interviews with couples who wanted to get married, just, you know, telling their story and like doing a little narrative, which is kind of my thing, is interviewing people and telling their story. I've done that with Chris. We had a panel 2 days ago where we presented all this footage of gay gamers from coast to coast, and Chris was one of them, talking about why queer gaming events are so meaningful to people. Anyway, so with marriage equality, I went into that really dedicated. Bless you. Really dedicated to that cause, in part because I wasn't married, and I was like, I need to be married. I was in a long-term relationship, still am, and it was like, but we're not married. There's something wrong with this relationship. We need to legalize marriage so I can get married. And something really weird happened over the course of fighting for marriage from like 2008 to 2015. I had this real evolution in talking to people who had dedicated their lives to this, going back to the 70s, and meeting people who wanted to get married for various reasons. And I came to this place where I was like, maybe I don't need marriage to validate my relationship, which is what my whole book, Defining Marriage, just give it another plug, now available on Amazon, which is what my book is about doing this work really changed how I think about what marriage is and isn't, and what it can do for you and what it can't, and what people expect from it unrealistically. So it changed things. It didn't make me sick of marriage. It just really changed what it means to me. So I think there's the extremes of I love movies and I'll always talk about movies, and the other extreme of oh boy, I'm sick of gay porn, which I gladly have not had to endure that experience. And then somewhere in the middle is this changes how I think about it.
Well, my this is a little bit of a hobby horse of mine, but this is a thing that I've experienced in the compressed 2 years that I've gone from one side of the fence to the other. That line between being just a fan and being involved in the scene is very thin now. It's almost non-existent anymore. But still, I've gone from one side to the other. And one of the things I would say is even if you are just a fan, you have a responsibility for what you do with your platform, because things go viral very quickly. The thing that you think, the blog post that you think was just venting to you and your friends, could become the thing on BuzzFeed. Someone said this and it went viral. This, you won't believe what this Tumblr user said. Right? So that that goes in both directions. So part of it is I, having been dragged on social media, am much more hesitant to drag people on social media to do the pile-ons and the shaming. I'm not saying self-censorship. I'm not saying don't criticize things. I even say it also goes the other direction, that because we all have more of a voice than we did before, we have a responsibility to speak up when we see something screwed up. But you have to be aware of the consequences of what you say and the way you say it. And one of the things that really got me was I was used to no one caring what I said. I was used to being able to say whatever I wanted on my Twitter, horrible things, right? And no one would care because I had 200 followers. Most of them were bots, right? A friend of mine would see it and be like, Arthur, that's screwed up. And yeah, I know. But when you get to a level of visibility, something everything you say matters, right? And some of it, you have to let it roll off your back, right? Every time you're visible, someone's going to find a problem with something you say. Some of it you have to take to heart, especially if you hurt another person. And a lot of it is when I was a fan, it was very easy to just think of properties that I liked or works of art that I liked as just existing by themselves and not the person behind them. Which is not to say the person behind them is immune to criticism, but there are ways that to criticize something that is criticizing the work, and there are ways that to do it that are attacking the person.
Yes.
And there are ways that to do it that can be really harmful to people, honestly. And I try to be careful about that. And I try to think about in terms of proportion. I used to have a lot of fun making fun of people's bad fanfic and bad fan art, right? And now I'm older, and I think what effect does it have, right? What benefit am I putting into the world by making fun of a bad thing, especially if I'm targeting the person and flooding that person's world with negativity, right? Does that encourage them to get better, or does it discourage them? It either discourages them and drives them out of the scene, or it makes them defensive and angry, and then you get angry people sniping at each other. And for me, that's been a big, the more visibility I've gotten, the more I've had to really, just because I can see the consequences that much more easily, to think about, why do you criticize things? I'm much more careful about naming names than I used to be. I'm still a very critical person, but when I write a critical review of something, I'm much more, measured, this is specifically what I'm criticizing, instead of, this is shit, this is racist, this is, this is what I'm criticizing, this is what I think this person did wrong, but not, let's make this person the target of the day, because I've seen that. I've been part of both sides of that, and it's really ugly,
Yeah, call in versus call out culture is something that sucks, because call out culture is the norm. But in anything that you can do, I mean, the easiest way to make a good name for yourself in the thing that you're passionate about and the thing that you want to engage with and do is those dialogues, is building a dialogue, and it's a really easy way to just build credibility for yourself from day one. If you want to have a blog that's all about issues that you have with the big two comics publishers and their representation of insert anything here. Everything. Oh, God. Here I am being oh, God, they're so terrible at this, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, being specific about things and being hey, you did a really great job with this book and this creative team. what's with the 180 over here on this other book by the same creative team? Is it an editorial thing, like trying to really say, like, you've done really good and you're not on this thing? Why? And trying to explore the why. And people shockingly respond a lot. The number of conversations I've had after I've done things like that, where I've been like, hey, like, you guys did a really good job with that, but now you're really dropping the ball on something else, and that's like disappointing to see, or like a culture change in a company. Why? I've had big people respond to me and be like, hey, like, let's chat, let's grab coffee and kind of
awesome.
talk about this. I'm like, oh wow, I'm nobody, but it helped because they could see in my body of work that I wasn't just going to be like, fuck you, you're the worst, this is terrible, ah, I hate you, I'm going to go make an angry post about it on my blog. I did want to engage. I wanted to have a dialogue and be able to say back that, oh, okay, this is why.
Definitely.
You know, or it was an unintended thing, or it was a this or that. And it leads to great things because somebody sees it. You know, yeah, like Arthur said, you never know what's going to be the thing that ends up on the 10 best Jessica Jones GIF sets on all of Tumblr, and it's just me being like, oh. I don't have a lot of feelings about that show at all. Oh no. If you want to talk about that after the panel, I'm trash for it, so let's do it. But you never know, and something can really turn into a huge opportunity just because there was a moment that set you off about something, that responding in a good way,
Yes.
not even good, but like in a critical way versus just an angry way, can be a huge door opener and like really give you a chance to suddenly say, like, I have a show to talk about this now, or I have a blog that people care about, and oh yeah.
Yeah. Another quick point that I wanted to make to answer your question is that, like, I don't know about you guys, but I also feel like it's really important to just like make stuff that's just for yourself.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like that's kind of part of my self-care, is to make sure that I maintain like my voice. Is that like I still maintain my own personal channel, because like it's like unhinged. Like I don't have to care about like it looking polished. Like I can say whatever the hell I want as long as it doesn't compete with my company.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't. And like just like having that like having something for yourself, and allowing to express yourself without having like your entire team like chime in like, oh, like I don't know about this one, you might like offend these people, like it's important for a big company, but like if you're doing like a channel, then like I just really enjoyed that personal freedom, and I think like we all probably have like personal things that we just do for ourselves. Yes.
Yeah, here and there. I'm actually curious about how you guys handle that, because I have Facebook, where I'm just talking about whatever I feel like, but I also have a Facebook fan page that people follow where I put the more official stuff. So how do you guys balance that stuff?
So I have a lot of Twitter followers, and I go back and forth on this all the time. I was off of Twitter for a while, actually, because I was just getting to be too much of a... thinking too much about it, you know, and even if you have like thousands of Twitter followers, that's really not that big a part of your life. Most of the people that I actually meet aren't that plugged into Twitter. It's a very sort of self-contained universe. But, you know, one of the struggles that I have is that no one wants to read a social media feed that's just self-promotion, right? They want access to the real you to some degree. They want to see the person. But at the same time, they don't really want the real you. They want a version of you that they can digest. Yeah, the cool you. And the more you overshare, you reach a point where it's like you might be hurting yourself in the sense of hurting your reputation. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But you are emotionally paying more into it than you're getting back, and you really have to. I really have to be aware of the degree to which like social media can't substitute for actual people. And I think what happens is that we create this illusion that it can, and that it kind of feels good to get support from your social network, but it's never really enough, and then you have to keep on putting more and more of yourself into it, and before long you're off the deep end. And that's why so many celebrities, you know, you come by, it's always easy to come by afterwards as a third party and be like, this person went off the deep end on Twitter. They went on a meltdown. Why would you do that? Well, this isn't a good look, right? It's like the frog in the boiling water, right? So I try to like, I have a locked Facebook feed where I talk about stuff that I definitely know I don't want to talk about on Twitter. I have like like a kind of like hard limit is like, would this be better served if I actually wrote it as a real opinion piece and got paid for it and it was professional about it, or if I went on a Twitter rant about it? Because the Twitter rant makes no money and it was probably not going to be accurate to what I really wanted to say, and I'm probably going to get dragged for it for like weeks later if I say it the wrong way. And it's that kind of balancing act, you know?
Yes.
Ironically enough, my professional career is my other side of this. Is I work for several top 100 YouTube channels. I do a lot of stuff for them. We have, as a crew behind the scenes beyond Rhett and Link, a lot of visibility on our own that kind of has been growing more because we have almost 9 million subscribers on our channel. There's a lot of people who know us because it's a small team. Small company, everybody gets known eventually. Just because it's unavoidable, and all of us exist on the internet as, beyond our relationship with our company. But I really found for me is like, I have that team, I have this people, I have a job, in my 9 to question mark. 9 to 5. What's a work-life balance? My professional sphere is very disconnected from sort of where I push a lot of my geeky interests. It came out of that. It grew out of being connected to the digital world and geek sundry and the YouTube space. But now it's become like I said, I'm like the keep the roof from leaking person, and I'm also like, let's do some merchandise and sell it to people. I made a very conscious kind of push in not having to have that be connected. I left like what's like the geek internet sphere very consciously because I was like, I need to professionally be more disconnected from what drives me, because that's where my passions lie in what I was doing. I wanted to do this work, and I ended up, by happenstance, working for 2 white, straight, 38-year-old dads. Like, I work for dad memes. That's the best way to put it. My bosses are the dad meme, the dad joke meme. So it's nice because I go to work, I do that. That's like an outlet of being like, okay, this is completely not the rest of my life on the internet, where I then turn around and reblog 800 GIF shots of, GIF shots of Jessica Jones, and go on like a 50 bajillion Twitter rant about my feelings about everything. The opposite of what Arthur does. Very small audience. People don't drag me for it. They just mostly drag me for it. Let's be real. Because I found that to be the healthy outlet for me.
Yes.
Is the paths diverged in the Yellowwood, and I happened to end up on the one that worked out that way. Otherwise, I would probably be much more filtered on a lot of what I do. Like, I should be, but it just worked out that way.
Cool.
That's really interesting to me because it's something that I still struggle with. How do I? The stuff that I talk about is stuff that I care about, and I think that it kind of has to be that way, because otherwise, like, if you're putting content out that you're like, oh ho hum, I guess I'm going to talk about cheese this week or something, but who cares?
Cheese is good though.
That's true. Actually, if I started a cheese blog, I'd probably get really into it. The new Havarti's out, you guys. Anyway, but yeah, so sometimes I'll. Oh my God. Fromage melange. Let's start that right now.
You guys have just witnessed the conceivement.
Copyright us, you guys.
Right. Y'all heard it here first.
There's a great cheese shop by my house in Culver City, actually. It's called like the Cheese Wheel. I'm like, it's such an obvious name. It's great.
Oh my God. Okay. Sidebar for later. So sometimes, I'll put stuff up that my partner and I work together on stuff, and sometimes it will be very personal to us, and in retrospect, it's like, oh, maybe the rest of the internet doesn't understand this. We did, like, right after Metal Gear came out, we did this video. You know that, like, that screen where you're, like, in the helicopter and Quiet is sitting across from you, and she just, like, is, like, positioning parts of her body in your field of vision, like, at random? So we did this video where we took that background and then green screened me into it, wearing just like some pants, and like I was topless, and it's just me doing like the quiet animations at the camera with the music in the background. And maybe like 5% of my followers understood what this was supposed to be, because a lot of people follow me for politics, and those people were not playing Metal Gear. So in retrospect, maybe that was something that would have been. They're like, oh, I guess it's some kind of. I guess Matt's doing like an art film or something. So yeah.
Industrial complex commentary about over-sexualization.
Yes, it's about the war.
Premiering at the MoMA.
So yeah, that's something that was like a fun passion project for us, and maybe that would have been better, more personal. Than it didn't really mesh with all of my brand at that time. So I still, kind of like everything I do, I look at it as like, does this make sense only to me? Or am I doing this for me? Or am I doing this for my audience? Or ideally, both. But
Right.
sometimes it can't be both.
Yeah. Oh, I have a mic. Thank you. Cool. So we spent 20 minutes on the last question. Let's get to another one. You over there in the glasses. Yeah, for a second I was like,
Hi.
you're gonna say something? Oh, but
No, it's
I
good.
forgot you
Yeah,
had a
it's
mic.
Hi, how are you doing? I actually, I'm a content producer. I also stream as well on Twitch, but I have two separate channels right now, and one was doing for gaming, and one was going to be for my own personal, like, news op-ed type situation, because I didn't want to gel them together because it didn't make any sense. But with right now on my scheduling and everything else, I decided to take a hiatus on the news one, the op-ed one, just because, one, I was starting to burn out, and also, like, I wanted to revamp things. But I also found out that I was getting into writer's block for things. So I was kind of curious as to, because, I mean, a lot of people say, you have to be consistent, you have to be constantly putting out
Yes.
videos on a very regular basis. But then, so, like, me doing a hiatus for, like, this past month, I was just like, ugh, it hurts, a little bit. But also, like, what do you do to get over, or what do you do to, like, get over any type of
Blockage?
revamping or writer blocking? Yeah.
I was just pointing the mic out of the stand for anyone.
That is the $10 million question. Like, literally. No, literally, if there were a good answer to that, then we could make $10 million right here. We could all, I mean, like, yeah, the cheese block. We could, yeah. It's a very personal thing. It's very difficult. And honestly, I have to say, some of my favorite creators are people who never seem to have gotten over it, who've struggled with it their whole lives. And then there's people who, they have this great method and they churn out content all the time and they make money, and in my opinion, it sucks, but they're doing what they do, so God bless them. But it's, I would say that what's worked for me is just having to do it, is that there's nothing like having to pay your rent that'll put the fear of God into you and make you work. And I will straight up like punish myself. Like, it's like, well, Arthur, you had a week to do this and you procrastinated, but you promised it would be done today, so you don't get to sleep tonight, right? And that's what happens. And eventually, you build up habits around those deadlines. But it's like it's the cushion that, it's when you give yourself the cushion and say, like, I'll give someone a soft deadline. I might get to it this week. I might get to it next week. Well, then it's just never going to get done. That's the brutal reality of it, is that if you don't have to do it, people are really, really good at making excuses for themselves to do things that are more like mentally pleasant than having to do something difficult. But I had a life coach once. Maybe it works for some people, didn't really work for me. But one of the little aphorisms that stuck with me was like, it's never really procrastination is never really about the difficulty of the task. It's about not, on some level, really wanting to do the task. It's not finding joy in doing it. And we all have things that we have to do that we don't like doing. But it is a big question. It's something that I had to confront. It's like when I found myself dreading writing, it was like, am I writing the stuff that I really believe matters? Or is it that I've sort of like locked myself into this pattern of like writing the week's hot take on this news thing because that's what people expect from me, but I don't really believe in it. And a lot of times if you like analyze it, it comes down to that. Like, writer's block will come down to, I don't really believe in what I'm doing. I just feel like I have to do it. Maybe you do have to do it, but maybe you should be doing something else,
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who is ostensibly a channel manager for YouTube, fuck it to your news channel. Like, honestly, if you're not finding joy in doing it and what you're happy doing is doing the gaming content and making that, don't feel like you have to have an op-ed channel.
At the beginning thing. Oh, thanks. Hi. So at the beginning, I really did enjoy it because it was a way I had kind of done this weird like stream of consciousness thing on certain things, and then it segued into this is the reason why I want to talk about it, and this is the news that was happening. But then after a while, I did start getting into this weird thing of like, I have to put this out, and the enjoyment kind of changed. So that's the reason why I'm putting it on hiatus, is to kind of revamp it, going like, did I like the stream of consciousness thing, and should I go back to it, or should I just do just straight on news and then do that? So I'm in that kind of limbo period, but I wasn't sure if it was like maybe it's more about work pattern as opposed, or is it just something like, it's one of those things where like it's trying to figure out where the block is, and seeing like maybe what your experiences were to see about, maybe it could be this, and this, and just throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm exactly that boat. My personal YouTube channel has been on hiatus for just over a year now. Geeking Out ended on GX3 Vlogs when the GX3 Vlogs channel ended back in May, and I have not independently put out a piece of video content since the end of that show. The fear of God is out of me. I am not getting paid anymore. I don't have expected hard deadlines on me. But also, I was at this point with my personal channel where it was becoming a lot of challenges and a lot of like response of the week and a lot of like the burden of feeling like I had to be a personality vlogger, and oh God, no. Like, that's not what I want to be doing. If I'm going to be having a channel that is me, it's going to be me. It's going to be, it's more like Geeking Out. That was the thing I found passion in doing. And so I just stopped. I said, I'm going to just not do this until I'm happy doing it. And, I wasn't in a position where that vehicle was what paid my rent. I was in a position where that was my side hustle to my career as a producer, which is pure luck for me. It's just how it is. And now it's been a year, and now I'm at the place where it's like, okay, like I want to do this again. Like I want to do this again. I still had other things. I was still doing bits on my own. I've appeared in friends' videos. I was very happy. Just shelving that for a while. I trained for and ran a half marathon. I found other things that I was really motivated to do in the time being, and it kind of just put me in this place now where I want to go back to my channel. I'm ready to do that again, and I want to make that content again. But I had to put it on a shelf for a while because it was so draining. I would set up my camera and my lights and just go, this sucks. And I could tell because my videos sucked. My fans were like, are you sick? It's like, no, I'm miserable. They're sometimes the same thing, and it was fine. I mean, have I lost some subscribers because of it? Yeah, but the people who I care about being there are still there. It's been over a year. You'll be fine. And you have something else that you're doing. If you're doing your gaming channel and you're fulfilled doing that, that's awesome. Keep doing that content and keep doing that and stream on Twitch and do all of that. You'll come back to that other thing and you'll want to do it again. And forcing yourself is the easiest way to just make something miserable and make something tank out so much faster than you can imagine, especially on YouTube. It's so hard on YouTube. You can tell, I mean, looking at big YouTubers, I'm not naming names, you can tell the people who are like, I don't want to be doing this anymore, but that is what I'm stuck in. And now you just look into their cold, sad, dead eyes as they like try and churn out a video a week or a video every other week or like a video every 3 days, and it's just nothing.
It's nothing, yeah. It becomes like trashy reality TV. The equivalent.
Cold, sad, dead eyes. Oh, like everybody's been talking.
Guys.
Everybody's been putting around that article right now of like the YouTuber dialect, the YouTuber voice, which is so true. Hadn't realized that for a long time. Now it's like the YouTuber eyes. It's that 1,000-yard stare of like, hey everyone, it's Becca. Welcome to my week.
Today we're gonna do the condom challenge. I fucking hate challenge videos, okay? I'm
Please
sorry.
like and
I fucking
subscribe
hate
if
them.
you like this video. I'll be back next week. Bye. Oh, it's like, don't do that to yourself. Just don't. And don't. I wish I could name names. I wish I could get my friends who are those people to believe that. Where I'm like, just go on a vacation, please. You're so dead inside.
Yeah, put yourself first. Put yourself first.
And I also would say, like, just in terms of getting over block, because that's something like everyone experiences, 3 things that I found were really helpful. One is having just like a brainstorm period where you're just like, what are the things that I would really love to do? And so you have that list that you can always go to. So you're not like, oh, there was something I really wanted to do. What was it? But just have that list. The second thing is listen to your followers and be like, what would you like me to do? And like, when good ideas come from followers all the time.
Yeah.
And it's also a great way to show your followers that you care, because you do. And if you don't care about your followers, this might not be the right line of work for you. And then the third thing is just being real disciplined about a production schedule. I mean, when I was doing doing 5 a week, I could not have survived if I wasn't like, Monday I do this, and this is what I'm doing from 9 to 10, and I'm writing scripts during this period, and I'm shooting during this period, I'm editing during this period, I'm making all my thumbnails during this period. Just having that schedule that keeps you on track is just crucial, because otherwise you'll find all kinds of excuses not to work.
Yep. Short thing that I'm gonna say is that like put yourself first, but at the same time you know, there are going to be days where you're just like, I just don't want to fucking do this, but like sometimes you just need to make yourself do it because you can't expect for yourself to be like, I'm so excited to do this like every single time you make a video. Like you can't like you're gonna reach a point of equilibrium where you're like you're gonna have to try to find the next thing, right? Like once again, hashtag cold side dead eyes. Let's start that. Next question. Oh.
Yeah, one more. We can do it really quick.
I will be hanging out outside, so if you guys have questions for us, please just we'll just chat. It'll be more intimate anyway. So.
Can we take one more with really fast questions?
Yeah.
I can be fast when I answer for once.
I don't know, this is this thing on? Okay. This is more of a comment. I'm a musician, and I don't know if it's applicable to the YouTube world, but one thing I like to do is if I'm really in a good mood, I'll create like 3 songs in one day. And so this one song is the one I'm going to show next week. When I feel like absolute crap, I'll have 2 waiting in the deck that I can go, boom, here you go. And they're like, whoa, this is great musical content. I'm like, I know. And you can't tell that I feel like shit. And maybe that also is a thing you can do for YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Quick response to that. That's why doing anything with the news sucks. Because you can't build a buffer. It's like that SNL thing, like Gerald Ford died today at the age of, you know, like, but no, like I hate that. And if you can do anything that's like time independent, you know, that's awesome. If you can do a buffer, it feels like you don't have to be staring at what's going on in the world today and responding to it, because that's awful.
Bless you.
Whoa, bless you. Yeah, do it. If you want to make your Halloween video for next year, right now, fucking do it. Guess what? Then you'll want to make another one. Then you have 2 Halloween videos. Tent-pulling content works.
So the Christmas episode of my podcast, The Sewers of Paris, all of my interviews were recorded in October. So, you know, being able to break yourself out of the news is very beneficial.
Yeah, when you can. Take advantage of those roles and just be like, I'm going to make 50 DIY videos today. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess what's big in the fall? Florals and leaves. Every year. Roll with it. Springtime, pastels.
That's it. Well, thanks for coming, I guess. Or do you want to think?
Oh, I had one more thing. If y'all are gonna do the whole like blocking out videos and like banking them, a trick that I do is that I just change my shirt to make it look like a different day. Oh my god, guys, it's like a brand new day. Oh my god, I'm so excited to be doing this video. Yeah.
Have like 2 pieces in your set that you can change out to make it seem different. Where it's like, oh, this week I'm reading Moby Dick. Next week I'm reading, oh dang, I forgot to change it. It's still Moby Dick. It's easy. Just move the light.
Yeah.
Swap it.
It's all a charade.
Cool. All right. So once again, if you have any questions, like me, we'll be here outside, not here. And once again, thank you so much for coming, and thank you to all my panelists. It's such an honor to be speaking with you guys. Like I honestly never thought that this would happen to me.
We did a panel.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.